In this video, we will be looking at the distributive property, but specifically when you're multiplying two binomials, which just means two brackets that have two terms inside. So let's start off with a grade 9 example, something that should be familiar to us, which is 3x times x minus 4. There's a single term outside the bracket, and to get rid of our brackets, we just multiply the 3x into both terms. So 3x times x would be 3x squared, and 3x times negative 4 would be negative 12x. And there we are. Here is the new example where you have x minus 5 times x plus 3. So it's not just a single term outside the bracket anymore, it's actually two terms inside another bracket. Now, the way we're going to do this and the way we're going to remember it is using something called FOIL. And that just tells you the order that you can multiply everything in. And using FOIL is optional. There are different ways to think of it. So F stands for first. We're going to multiply the first terms in each brackets. So x times x, which is x squared. Then O. O stands for outside. So we're going to multiply the outside terms. So x times 3, which is 3x. I stands for inside. So we're going to multiply negative 5 and x. And L stands for last. So we're going to multiply negative 5 and 3 to get negative 15. So when you use FOIL, or this distributive property, you get rid of your brackets, and all that's left now is the collecting like terms. Now, instead of thinking of it as FOIL, you can also see it like this. Take the first term and multiply it fully into the second bracket, so a little rainbow there. Then you take the second term in your first bracket and do the same thing. So it's two little rainbows that you are applying. So let's collect our like terms here in the middle. So the x squared is fine, but then 3x minus 5x is negative 2x, and then the minus 15 at the end. And that would be it. So it is a two-step process here. One step to get rid of the brackets and one step to collect. So let's try this out. In our first example, we have x minus 5 times x minus 3. So I'm going to take the x and I'm going to multiply it into the second bracket. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to multiply the negative 5. So negative 5 times x is negative 5x, and negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. Be very careful with your signs there. And then we can collect our like terms, which are in the middle, and again, be careful with your signs. So x squared is fine, but then we're doing negative 3 subtract 5, which is negative 8x. If you do 3 subtract 5, you would say negative 2, but that is incorrect. So be careful. Okay, let's try the next one. So I take the 2x and I do a little rainbow. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. So remember, when you are multiplying, you multiply the coefficients and then you multiply the variables if you have them. Then we'll do negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x, and then negative 3 times 2, which is negative 6. And now we collect. So it does become quite repetitive. So when we collect, we're going to have positive 4x minus 3x, which is just a single x, which you can write as plus x or plus 1x, whatever you like, and then the minus 6 at the end. All right, why don't you pause the video here and try C on your own following the example, then come back to check your work. All right, so first we're going to start off by multiplying the x in. So x times 3x is 3x squared, and then x times 1 is 1x. Then I'll multiply the 5 in. So 5 times 3x is 15x, and 5 times 1 is 5. If you got that right, that is a good step because that is the grade 10 portion. Now we're just going to collect our like terms. So 3x squared, and then 1 plus 15. I have 16 x's, and plus 5 at the end. Okay, in D, all that I've done here is I've switched around like the x and the constant term in the second bracket, but that doesn't change anything. We just have to be really careful when we collect our like terms. So I'm going to do the first set of brackets. So 5x times 3 is 15x, and then 5x times negative x is negative 5x squared. So notice because I swapped the terms, my x squared terms ends up being the second term instead of the first. But we'll fix that at the end. And then I'll multiply the negative 3 in. So negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And negative 3 times negative x is positive 3x. Now we collect. And when we collect, we're also going to rearrange this, and we're going to put the x squared first. So negative 5x squared will go first. And then I'm going to collect 15x with positive 3x. That's 18 x's in total, and then the minus 9 at the end. All right. In E, you will notice that we have a bracket to the power of 2. Now, what you have to be very careful is that you don't just do 3x squared and then plus 5 squared. A bracket squared, or an exponent of 2 in general, just means you're multiplying the base by itself. So the first thing we must do is rewrite this as 3x plus 5 times 3x plus 5. Now we're back to basics. Now we're just going to do our good old FOIL, or distributive property. So why don't you pause the video, try it out, then come back to check your work. All right, so we're going to start with 3x times 3x, which is 9x squared, and 3x times 5, which is 15x. Then we're going to do 5 times 3x, which is 15x, and 5 times 5, which is 25. Our like terms are back in the middle. So 9x squared is fine. And then 15 plus 15, we have 30 x's in total. And there we are. If you got that, great. If there's something that you messed up on, whether it was a variable, an exponent, a sign, just take a note of that so you don't make that mistake in the future. All right, why don't you try F on your own and then come back and check your work. Okay, so we should have x times 3x to get 3x squared. Remember, whenever you multiply an x with an x, it will become x squared. We have multiple variables, so the exponent gets higher. And then x times negative 7 is just negative 7x. Then we have negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x, and negative 4 times negative 7 is positive 28. Now to collect, again, it's the middle terms, and be careful with your signs here. You're not doing 7 minus 12, you're doing negative 7 minus 12, which is negative 19x, and then plus 28 at the end. So if you got that, great. If you didn't, check to see where you messed up so that you don't make that mistake in the future. All right, for our last few, I've just added an extra component. So if we look at G and H, you will notice that we have our two brackets like we've had normally, but there's also a single term at the front. Now, what I want you to remember and always do your FOIL first, okay? Do the hard part, then deal with the little term at the beginning later. So I'm going to ignore the 2 for now. And I'm going to do my FOIL. So I'm going to deal with these brackets. And the reason I say that is because whenever people deal with the monomial first, so that 2, they kind of mess things up, or they make the brackets disappear, FOIL is never done, something goes wrong. So I'm going to do x times 3x to get 3x squared, x times negative 1 to get negative 1x, 5 times 3x to get 15x, and 5 times negative 1 to get negative 5. And at this point, you can collect your like terms right now, and then distribute the 2 in, or distribute the 2 in and then collect. I'm just going to collect to make my numbers a little smaller. So the negative 1x plus the 15x, that's 14x's in total. And now we can do our grade 9 distribution of just multiplying the 2 in. So 2 times 3x squared is 6x squared. 2 times 14x, 28x. And 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And there we are. All right, next one, very similar, but now I have a 3x out in front. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write the 3x. I'm going to open up a bracket, and now we FOIL. So I want you to pause the video and try this out on your own. Do your FOIL, collect the like terms. If you want to try bringing the 3x in, go ahead. If not, come back to the video after you do the FOIL to check your work. So 2x times 4x, so 2 times 4 is 8, and x times x is x squared. 2x times 3, 2 times 3 is 6, then the x. 1 times 4x is 4x, and 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to collect first, so I keep the 8x squared, but then we have 6 plus 4x's, that's 10 in total. And now we're going to bring the 3x in. Now, in the other example, we just brought a 2, no variable. Here, because we are multiplying a 3x, we'll multiply the coefficients, and then each variable is going to go up by an exponent. So when I do 3x times 8x squared, 3 times 8 is 24, but x times x squared becomes x cubed. Remember, if there's no exponent on top, it's technically a 1, and whenever you multiply variables, you're adding the exponents. So in the next one, we're doing 3 times 10 to get 30, and x1 times x1 is x2. And then 3x times 3, 3 times 3 is 9, and the x has no one to get multiplied by, so it just stays there. All right, our last ones are one extra step in that I have 2 sets of groups. So I have x plus 3 all squared, which anytime you have an exponent, the first thing we should do is write the bracket out twice. And then we have 2 times x minus 2. So we have a grade 10 distribution on the left and a grade 9 distribution on the right. So we're going to do our FOIL, we're going to do our grade 9 distribution, then we're going to collect all the like terms. So x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 3 times x is 3x again, and 3 times 3 is 9. So those set of brackets are gone. Now we also have to do positive 2 times x, which is 2x, and positive 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. Okay, now I have more terms to collect because we did have that extra component. So I see I only have the x squared. In terms of x terms, I have those 3, so I'm going to group them. Some people like to write them together, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I have my constants, so positive 9 and negative 4. Now, let's collect. X squared stays as is. 3 plus 3 plus 2, that's 8 x's. And 9 minus 4 is positive 5. So that ugly expression at the beginning turned into this nice one. All right, last one. I want you to try this out on your own. It's the same idea. You have a FOIL at the beginning and a grade 9 distribution at the end, and then some collecting. So pause the video, try it out, then come back to check your work. All right, so x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 2 is 10. Then we're taking negative 3 and multiplying it in. So be very careful, check your signs here. You're going to have negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x, and negative 3 times 2, which is negative 6. A common mistake here would have been that people wrote plus 6 instead of minus 6. Now time to collect. X squared stays, but then I have a 2x, a 5x, and a negative 3x. that I'm going to group, and then I have a positive 10 and a minus 6. X squared, 2 plus 5 is 7, minus 3 is 4, so 4 x's, and then 10 minus 6 is 4. And there we have it. So we have this new distribution when we are multiplying two binomials. So you're kind of doing a double rainbow type of thing. We also have to remember our grade 9 collecting like terms and normal distribution. Main thing here, careful with your signs, careful with your variables. And that's it for distribution.